Are these buff guns the new meta of BattleBit Remastered? Find out right now as we use the buffed Honey Badger, Ultimax 100, UMP 45 and the AsVal. Let's start off with the elephant in the room, the Ultimax 100. Now this thing was the worst LMG in the game with its low damage and slow fire rate, not mentioning its average handling. Pre-buff I was able to pick up a few kills with it, but it always felt like I had a disadvantage when in a gunfight at pretty much any range. Now with these changes increasing its recoil control, you can set this thing up with a bipod and a medium range scope to go for those medium to longer range kills. The only problem with this setup though is facing the snipers. To counter the snipers you really just have to find a really good position to set up. I believe this will be a nice strategy for players that like this playstyle and now usable just as a suppressing fire machine. With the lower recoil you don't actually need the bipod. You can still stand or crouch and still be able to pin down enemies and pick them off while they are charging towards you. Being in an advantageous position will definitely help, as I still think you might lose a majority of the gunfights in a 1v1, yet that doesn't mean it can't hold its own now, and it fits into the LMG category being one of the easiest to control and being able to shoot at those longer ranges. By going off all of that though, I can assure you this thing ain't OP, but in a much better spot than what it was. A weird one next is the UMP 45, buffing the damage but reducing the effectiveness over range with its damage to start falling off after 30 meters. This makes the UMP feel like it hits hard and slow in comparison to the other SMGs. Unique for sure, but does this make it effective? With the extra damage and being one of the most accurate still in its class, you feel like you can take a fight at medium range but ultimately lose because of the damage drop off nerf. Fuck off. So with medium range out of the question, what about close range? It feels bad. In these close fights, enemy movement is a lot more evasive and can quickly dodge out of the way of where you are aiming. Having a slower fire rate means that you have to be landing each shot in order to survive. Someone like me though, which will spray and pray to Oki for my bullets to land, made me want to change off of it pretty quickly. It didn't feel good for me to use at all. I will definitely not write it off yet, as this was just the first few matches and lack of attachments I was using, but for now I can say I do not think this gun is in the meta. And a quick note to put in, the UMP is already getting adjusted for the next patch with some more damage and more adjustments, so maybe then it might be good, but we'll see. Now onto the old meta king, the AsVal. Most of you probably know that this gun was the best in the game in closed testing before early access. If you were not using this gun, you were not winning. This thing was even better than the Cruise Vector. It was nerfed into the ground though, making it have less damage and harder to control with absolutely crazy amounts of horizontal recoil. I thought the nerf was way too much at the time that it happened. I saw this gun being buffed a bit to counter the mega nerf that it was handed, bringing it back into the spotlight as a run and gun flanking machine. The recoil was reduced, making it way easier to control, as well as its accuracy and damage range. Now with good aim and a flanking position, you can clean house once again. Having a quick reload time is really handy with this thing's short magazine, only able to pick off 2 or 3 enemies on average at a time. This thing feels so fun to use again though, and back to what it felt like. It doesn't have the insane damage that it used to, but it still packs a good punch. An absolute flanking machine with its reduced noise and muzzle flash from its suppressor, and I think that we will be seeing a lot more use of the AsVal. Overpowered? Maybe not, but for sure back into being a meta weapon. Last off, the Honey Badger. Its damage was reduced but now has less recoil and higher fire rate and quicker reload time. This gun was also giga nerfed alongside the AsVal back in the day. The guns pretty much felt the same to use back then, being extremely similar in stats. Now though, with the increased fire rate, the two guns do feel different. The main thing you need to train your mind with a Honey Badger is to aim to the torso or to the PP. As it has a decent first shot kick now to compromise for its better overall recoil and its increased fire rate. This thing feels like it will dump your load real quick with its short magazine. Good aim and skill issue come into play again with this. Having better trigger discipline and not wasting ammunition will come into play with how well you can use this thing, as it feels really good when you land your shots. Now back onto the skill diff. I wasn't really feeling this, hey. I was mixing and matching attachments and I didn't land on anything that made it feel better. Overall, I wasn't enjoying my time with it as much as I was with the AsVal. This gun is in a 100% better spot compared to where we were. Pretty much was an unusable weapon, but now can be a really good competitor. I think more practice and a lack of playing on my part, not being able to use the thing to its full potential. I wasn't performing overly well with it, but I do believe it is in contention to be another good meta weapon. Overall, really good changes from the devs, making these weapons feel a lot more unique. I think I need more time with each to find out the best builds and loadouts for them, so expect them in future content. Like I said earlier, the devs are adjusting more weapons on a rapid pace at the moment, including pistols and marksman rifles, which we will be checking out in the future. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, could you please drop a like, as it helps out a small channel like myself, and subscribe for more upcoming content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Oh no, I killed Todd Howard.